Oh boy. To quote the great Cat Williams, you shouldn't have been talking shit. See, Disney has a problem. You see, they allow their stars to go out there and shoot whatever project that they're currently working on in the foot. And funnily enough, this is coming off of the back of The Acolyte. And I said this before when I had watched The Acolyte. I think the greatest failure of Disney wasn't even the show, it was the PR and press for the show. I think the press for the show from the showrunner and the actors was so abysmally bad that it added a ridiculous amount of baggage onto the show before it even came out. Like the show was basically dead on arrival because of the PR events that they had basically done with the actors and the showrunner that painted the show in just such a negative light that it never recovered from it. Um, a few years ago, 3 years ago, I want to say it was around 2022 when we go over to the article. Rachel Zegler shot this movie in the foot, which is instead of just talking about the fact that what we're dealing with here is a modern take on Snow White's story. Like we've seen Snow White's story before, and we've also had multiple remakes of the story before, but we're offering a different take, and I just hope that people, show up and that they enjoy it. Instead of going that route, she sat down for an interview, or maybe it was social media comments. I feel like it was social media, but on social media, people zeroed on her response to being asked about bringing a modern edge to the story of Snow White. So no, it was social media. Yeah, it was social media. I just mean that it's no longer 1937. We absolutely wrote a Snow White that she's not going to be saved by the prince. She's not going to be dreaming about true love. She's going to be dreaming about becoming the leader she knows she can be, and that her late father told her that she could be if she was fearless, fair, brave, and true. I think this is the part where she did another interview with D23 and she talked about the Snow White story in general. Snow White's love story in the original film with a guy who literally stalks her. I wouldn't really say that the prince kind of stalks her. He kind of comes upon her and he's like, what the fuck is going on here? And then he decides to go on a quest to essentially save her. And it's his kiss that kind of wakes her up. But the whole true love thing is, I feel, a two-way street. But hey, whatever. This is my interpretation of the story. We have a different approach to what I'm sure a lot of people will assume is a love story. Just because we cast a guy in the movie, it's really not about the love story at all, which is really, really wonderful. She joked that all the scenes featuring Prince Charming could get cut. Who knows? It's Hollywood, baby. Um, and I think her final comment was, "I think I watched it once and never picked it up again. I'm being so serious." And I think she's talking about the original Snow White film. Here's the thing. This was probably the worst interview you could have. And there are so many reasons why. Number one, the core of Snow White's story, it's a story of essentially three pillars. One pillar is the character of Snow White herself, who was essentially burdened with her beauty because of her mother's vanity. The second story is that of the wicked stepmother who hates Snow White's beauty because she feels as though it takes away from herself and she wishes to be the most beautiful and fairest of them all. So you have a innocent child who was born due to her mother's vanity and cursed with this beauty, who is despised and hated by somebody who wishes that they were beautiful, even though this child never wished it for themselves, and as a result decides to take her anger and frustration out on that child. And then the third pillar of the story is the prince himself, who meets Snow White, falls in love, realizes he has to go on a quest to basically save her, and then goes on that said quest to save her, and then true love's kiss essentially wakes her up. That's I'm paraphrasing here. I'm really simplifying like the entire breakdown in regards to that. But that's the gist of the story. The idea that's like, oh well, we're doing like a modern edge. Here's the thing. You're talking about, we have to make her into the leader that she knows that she can be, fearless, brave, and true. We've had that already. It's called Snow White and the Huntsman. Kristen Stewart, 2012. You're not doing anything new. It's nothing new at all, to be quite honest. And to be fair, I feel as though while a lot of people gave this series like this movie a lot of shit back in the day, it definitely did the story of Snow White and true love extremely well in regards to the relationship between both her and Chris Hemsworth's huntsman, where it's actually his kiss towards the end that ends up waking her up because of the journey that both of the characters go on, where the huntsman gets over his grief for the wife that he lost and accepts the true love accepts the budding love and feelings that he has for Snow White, and then Snow White being around the huntsman and basically, I wouldn't really say learning how to survive, but the experiences that she has with him and the journey she goes on basically creates a bond with him that she realizes that, oh shit, I might have just fallen in love with this guy that initially was supposed to like capture me and bring me back to the evil queen. And it's the journey of the both of them where he heals his scars on one side, and then she's basically learning to basically come into her, I wouldn't really say, yeah, it definitely is her own power because she's the queen of an entire kingdom. And we do see her towards the end lead the forces in battle, which is here. Where we see her lead the forces into battle because she's learned bravery from essentially the huntsman. That is basically what Rachel Zegler is talking about. It's like, oh, what journey. But here's the thing. The difference between Snow White and the Huntsman and what she's doing is that her version of Snow White completely diminishes the role of Prince Charming. Like he's completely diminished and he's made as small and as insignificant and as minuscule as possible, to the point that it kind of becomes redundant. Like you're not really telling a Snow White story. Like you're telling a story that has bits and pieces of Snow White, but it's the dynamic and the love between both of those characters. Even though Snow White and the Huntsman didn't have a Prince Charming, the Huntsman kind of falls into the role of Prince Charming. That decision to do that whole ridicule bullshit, that's gonna piss a lot of people off. The decision to basically take a side swipe for whatever reason at the original film, that's the equivalent of me being casted as Superman today. They cast me at, congratulations world, you just got your first black Superman. But they cast me as Superman. I'm doing a press tour and somebody asks me about the Christopher Reeves films. And I go, I mean, I watched it for like 5 minutes, but he's just so fucking boring that like after 15 minutes, I just dropped it and I never watched it again. Or them going, well, okay, you didn't like the Christopher Reeve thing. Did you like Brandon Routh or Henry Cavill? I'm like, yeah, it's kind of like the same thing, man. Like, I picked up Man of Steel and like I couldn't follow it at all. Like the story was just boring and I didn't really care about the character. I didn't read the book. I haven't read any comics in regards to this, but hey, they casted me as Superman and I'm going to give you guys the best Superman you've ever received. At that point in time, most sensible people will go, who the fuck is this Yahoo? And why did you pick this guy to be Superman? Who does not care about the characters or the original source material and is taking a chance instead of promoting what they're basically working on to basically like um take a shit on the original characters. That's what happened here. Now, a lot of people will frame it around the idea of feminism. I don't. I've said it before and I'll say it again. There's a good side of feminism that brings attention to a lot of the problems that women face, and then there's like a really really bad side of feminism that it instead of just being a, hey, this is what we deal with, we're trying to fix this shit, it takes its time to basically try and belittle other people. It tries to belittle other women that aren't a part of the movement, and then it also takes its time to belittle men and then other minorities as well. Anybody who doesn't fall into the bubble that they're attempting to craft basically gets attacked in some way, shape, or form. Where it's like, yeah, that's what I like to call it. I don't find it to be feminism. I find it to be pseudo feminism. It's kind of like a Scooby Doo villain where it's like they're wearing a mask that says feminism, then you take the mask off and it's just like, oh, you weren't feminist at all. You were just an asshole. That's good to fucking know. That's basically what the situation is, which is she attempted to paint this with a like aggressive feminist brush, but it didn't really come off as an aggressive feminist brush. It just came off as her being an ignorant asshole. And then, of course, her responses post that didn't really help her situation or her case in any way, shape, or form. So I'm not really shocked by this. I'm not shocked that it has 40K likes. 8.1 million people viewed this trailer. 8.1 million, which means who knows how many millions of women viewed this trailer. And it only got 40K likes. And it has 1 million dislikes. That should tell you something. That should tell you that the message that she was trying to send originally in regards to this film was fucking bad. That should tell you that once again, Disney may have laid another egg in regards to their live action adaptations once again. And hey, you did this to you. Like I'm sorry. Like you did this to you. Because like I said, you could have went out there and you could have been like, "Hey, we've had multiple remakes of Snow White and the Seven Dwarves, and of course we've had Aurora with Maleficent, but we're doing our own take on it in regards to the Snow White legend. That's the point in time, and this is how you do good PR, people. That's the point in time where you talk about the previous stuff, like, oh, we had Snow White and the Huntsman, and that was really, really great with Kristen Stewart and Chris Hemsworth. We're not going to talk about the second one because the second one is absolute freaking garbage and undoes all of the great undoes, good God, all of the great writing and character development of the first film. But it's like, hey, I watched the film that was really, really great. Watching the journey that Snow White takes with Chris Hemsworth's Huntsman, who fills the role of the prince, was fantastic. We're going more of a traditional route where the prince is actually in our film. So it's going to be more in line with the original story, but it's going to be a little bit more modern with some twists that I really hope that people enjoy. That's how you just show up to a event and you're just modest about a situation. But when you're flippant about it, and when people can feel that energy, it's like, oh no, you're an asshole. Yeah, you're an asshole. And the way in which they're writing this is from the perspective of somebody who's probably an asshole. Where I can tell you right now, this Snow White film is going to be belittling the shit out of the prince. Every single second when he suggests anything, they're going to take a swipe at him. And that sucks because I feel as though we've had multiple different genres that have come out recently that have done really, really well in regards to portraying romance um in a meaningful way. Not just the shit that I watch, like let's say Castlevania Arcane, but then you can go as far back as Tangled. You can look at the relationships in Frozen. All of those are portrayed extremely well. Hell, I no, definitely not Mufasa. I don't. Like they did my man Scar wrong in Mufasa. Like Nala was out here, not Nala. What was his Sarabi? Sarabi was out here like, oh, your name Mufasa? Oh yeah, nah. Let me throw you this. Let me throw you this lion ussy. Let me throw you this lion ussy over here on this hill so that Scar can peep us. But other than that, there's some really, really great romance built into a lot of the these romantic fantasy stories and their adaptations that we've received over like the last 10 to 15 years. But yeah, there's no hope for this. There's no hope for Disney's Snow White. It's gonna flop. It's gonna probably flop harder than Mulan. Speaking of which, how well did Mulan do? Mulan 2020 film. The Mulan 2020 film did $69 million on a $200 million budget. That is fucking bad. That is horribly bad. And it did not get better from there. On the real, it only got worse. I feel as though all of the live action Disney show movies that we've gotten over the last few years have been ass. And there isn't any getting around that, because I feel like there's a level of emotion that you can hit for the animated films in regards to the singing and the story that you're telling, that for whatever reason just isn't translating well to the live action stuff. And this is going to be another dud. So there better not be another fucking sequel in development. However much money Snow White is gonna cost. Let me see. Snow White 2025 film, $250 million. I don't see it breaking 70. I don't see it breaking 70. I think it's gonna. To be quite honest, Mark Webb is directing this, sir. Why are you here? It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. Just moving on. I don't see it. 70 is being generous, but I don't see it breaking $70 million. And that's a shame. But we'll see. We will keep an eye on it, and we'll talk about it when it happens. I don't know if I'm going to the fucking movie theater to watch this. I'm here to tell you right now, I did not like Mufasa as much as most other people enjoyed it. It was okay. Mulan was absolute garbage. The first Lion King film was just decent. I feel as though a lot of the choices they made in regards to the songs were worse than the ones that were in the animated film. I think the only good one that they've ever released where I actually enjoyed it was Aladdin. I think Aladdin was great. And I think Aladdin had a lot to do with the fact that they really kept the energy of the animated film, because Will Smith decided to keep it as goofy as the animated film and not serious it up. But hey, that's just my opinion. Let me know what you think about the current developments in regards to the Snow White trailer hitting 1 million dislikes. Comment down below, and I'll catch you in the next one. Peace.